Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album here. It's by New Order. It's their album Brotherhood. So yeah, I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this was the band's fourth album, released on the 29th of September in 1986. So like the concept of the album was to sort of bridge the gap between New Order's two styles which they had developed up to this point, and also where they would ultimately go on the follow-up album techniques. So the first side of this album kind of looks back towards their post-punk roots, so guitar-based songs, and then on the second side has more dance tracks and more synthesizer focused songs on the second side. Now around the time of the making of this album, the band were pretty busy, it has to be said. They were involved a lot with the Hacienda nightclub, which is now in full swing, and the songs for this album began very much as instrumental jams, recorded in London, and then finished off in Dublin, adding vocals and various instrumental overdubs. Now Bernard Sumner would say that they did go a little bit crazy on this album, maybe putting on too many layers off the songs, and also in many cases the lyrics the last thing the band thought of, wrote at the mixing desk, which maybe explains some of the lyrical weaknesses on the album. Now upon its release, the band's label Factually, the manager of that label, Tony Wilson style, he hyped up the album, called it, I think, their Dark Side of the Moon, which is a bit far-fetched, as to be said, but upon release it did get mostly really good positive critical reviews. However, commercially it didn't fare as well as their last two albums, reaching number 9 in the UK, however only spending 5 weeks on the charts compared to the previous album, Low Life's 10 weeks. So I will try to show you my vinyl copy. This is I think it's an original UK pressing, it might be a reissue or something, something it's definitely from the 80s. So the cover, not massive fan of the cover, it's kind of a sort of a titanium sort of image of a piece of sheet metal. It's nothing much. I'm not sure if original copies were kind of shiny or something, but yeah, something like that I would have given it a bit more of a unique kind of flavour, but that's it there. And then the inner sleeve is even more plain, just nothing on that side of it, so it just says Brotherhood on it, and the label looks like the label looks like that, Brotherhood on it there. So yeah, that's the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album songs. So there's 9 tracks in total here, so I'll just score each track out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. Now the record kicks off with a song called Paradise, which I think a lot of New Order fans really rate this song. For me though, it's just not a favourite track of mine, I don't think. It begins well enough, with a strong beat. It sort of opens up the album quite well, but by the time it gets to the chorus, it's just really messy. They've sort of they've put everything in the kitchen sink on this song. It just sounds far too cluttered, and lyrically it's quite basic. He just sort of repeats the lines I want you, I need you, I love you, and I feel you, or something like that. It's a little bit sort of it's a little bit sort of quite naive basic lyrics on it, and yeah, it just seems it just doesn't click together, this song for me. It's kind of every instrument is doing something sort of completely different from the other one, and it's just a bit off a mess off an opening song. I mean it's still good enough when it's on. There's maybe a bit harsh saying it's a mess, but it is just a bit overworked this one here. They put a little bit too much on it for me, and being the opening song as well, it does give you a bit of a jolt as well. It's a bit okay, I wasn't expecting all this sound sort of suddenly. So yeah, Paradise will get a 7 out of 10 from me. Next track up though, I enjoy a lot more. It's called Weirdo, and this song, yeah, is really good. You got a really strong propulsive bass line from Peter Hook on it, but it's just a really joyous song. This good chiming guitars on it. Again, maybe slightly overdone on the production, but I can forgive them forgive them like on this song, because the actual track itself, lyrically like and musically, like is really good, really catchy. So yeah, Weirdo would get a 9 out of 10. Next one up is called As It Was When It Was, which begins very, very differently from anything New Order has done before, really, with a sort of very tender, like, acoustic guitar, sort of like, right, so like opening piece, and yeah, it just works really well. Then like the drums come in, the energy picks up, and you've got a really great like bass riff again from Peter Hook. Lyrically, this song is about trying to sort of like convince like someone that like you're like worth it to them. Like he sort of sings like on like the chorus, whatever you think of me, you listen hard and I will make you see. And yeah, Bernard sings the song really well. It's just a really good underrated song there, so that one would get a 9 out of 10 from me. Okay, the next song up on the album is called Broken Promise, and this one begins with a very much like sort of like a Joy Division style like riff like on it, very similar to their song Isolation. But this one sounded like a bit more like optimistic, like a little bit more sort of like bright, like sounded like on it. Again, the production on this one is a little bit different from the rest of the songs like on it. It seems a bit more focused, there's a lot more clarity like to the sounds, like off like the bass, like and like the guitar parts. It's not all just like a sort of like a mesh like off like different sounds. Like sounds like actually pick out and hear the different instruments. The song has got a lot of energy to it, but for me, I just don't think it is as memorable as some of the others on the record. But it is a good song, sort of harks back like to like their like punk roots, and yeah, I would give it a 8 out of 10. Okay, and then the next song up is called Way of Life, which closes off side 1. And this one, again, has a kind of Joy Division sort of flavour to it. I would say vocally it's quite good. I like sort of like the double tracking, like on like the chorus. I think Bernard sounds like really great like on that bit. Just again, production-wise, it's very cluttered. It seems like the drums, the vocals, and the guitar are all kind of doing different things, like all playing like different songs. So again, just something doesn't come together like on like the song for me. But you know, it might grow on me. But like as it is now, I would give it a 7 out of 10 because let's face it, it's not a bad song. Okay, and then we flip over the album, and it's open, and side 2 opens up with Bizarre Love Triangle, which is the definite standout song on the album. And yeah, it kind of seems like when like you turn over this record, it's sort of like a completely different sounding album. Like this one here doesn't have like any guitars like on it, or like at least like not any like you can actually like sort of like hear like and make out like on the song. And yeah, it's just a standout track. There's sort of great lyrics on it, great catchy song this one here. And yeah, it's one of the all-time great 80s songs, I think. It was a hit single like on many club and like dance charts. However, like on like the conventional charts, it didn't perform too great this one here, like, which was a bit of a shame. It only reached number 56, like in the UK. I think was their first non-top 40 single, which was yeah a bit odd considering it is such a brilliant song. And I mean, it has gone down like as like a New Order classic. Like they play it, I think like pretty much like every concert they do. But yeah, a really great song there, and yeah, definite standout on the album. Next up is called All Day Long, and this one again is not a bad song. I think it's got really good like arrangement on it. Lyrically, it's a bit more kind of darker, more sort of serious like subject matter. Like I've read, like, it's about like child abuse, and I sort of hear that like in like the lyrics. He sings like, "Now I hope that you know this song about a child who now is gone, and the other children like him too, abused and used by what adults do." I mean, Bernard sings it very tenderly, very sort of like vulnerable, like sort of like vocal performance. But for me, musically, it seems a little bit too upbeat considering like sort of like the subject matter like off like the song. But like on like the outro, we get some really good sort of like swirling like orchestral samples on it, and like like yeah, like the outro, it's sort of like extended, so it gives it a kind of very sort of like widescreen like sort of like flavour to it. So yeah, I think it is a pretty good song there. All Day Long would get an 8 out of 10. Who told you that I would be back? Next up is called Angel Dust. And this is a bit more of a kind of typical like dance song, like for like the most part. Although it has got a kind of Middle Eastern fusion like on it, like with like, so, like the backing vocals like in places. It is a good song. It's just not particularly memorable. Like it's kind of like, again, like I've been listening to this album a lot like lately, like in preparation for this review, and it just really hasn't stuck with me like this one here. But like, yeah, like from what like I remember like of it, it is a pretty good solid song. It gets a little bit darker like towards the end, like sort of like more like sort of like distorted guitars like and like bass like on it, like kind of like it sort of like changes out the atmosphere like of like the song like a little bit. And yeah, like I'll give it like a 7 out of 10 simply because it doesn't really stand out too much on the album for me.
Every little counts when I am with you.
And then we get the closing song, which is another favourite of mine. And yeah, I think this is just a really good song. Like, there's something about it. It's called Every Little Counts. And yeah, I'm just really fond of this song here. I like how it seems very immediate, this song. It kind of sounds, especially like the vocal take, it sounds like it was just done like in... It sounds like it was just done like in like a water, like because Bernard, he sort of like he like halfway through like singing the first verse, he sings like he sings like you think you are a pig, you should be like in a zoo or something like that. Like he bursts out like laughing on it, but it's very spontaneous, very charming, like sort of like feeling to it. And like even like though like he's sort of like he's like laughing like through like the song, it is a bit more sort of like brutal, like sort of like lyrically, like again like every second counts when I am with you, even though you're stupid, I still follow you. And like yeah, like that's like the first half like of the song, but then towards the end, again, Gillian Gilbert's keyboards come in and just give it really ethereal, really sort of touching feeling to it. And yeah, I think yeah, it is a really good solid song. And the album then kind of like drifts off like a little bit. It ends with a like scratched like vinyl side, I also like repeating like until like it comes to like an end, a bit like the Beatles, like A Day in the Life, like kind of thing. And yeah, I think is a pretty good closing song. Okay, so overall, this album would score 82%. So I do think this is a solid album here from New Order. Slightly sort of like schizophrenic moods like to the record. It's very unpredictable, like as like where like they're gonna go next, like on it. Very playful, but also slightly confused as well. Like the production like doesn't help like on it. Like for me, like it's very multi-layered. Like but it's still not a lush sounding album. It's still very like raw, like rough and ready. But they've just kind of thrown like everything like onto it. So yeah, like it's a little bit messy like in places. But when it works, it really does work, this album. I mean, compared to like the other work, I would say it's not as good as Power Corruption and Lies or Low Life in terms of both like memorable songs, but also breaking new ground as well. Like it seems like this was a kind of like like one step forward, 2 steps back, like sort of thing. But certainly, I mean, for lesser bands, this would be a career highlight. Just for me, like with New Order, I mean, considering like the mightiness like of like the last couple of records, and also like the follow-up album Technique, I just think like this one slightly falters a little bit. But yeah, that's been my review of Brotherhood here, so I would be very interested to know what you think of this album down below in the comments, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.